This presentation is a data overview for Cherokee High School for the school year 2013-2014. This presentation is intended for department heads and instructional lead teachers. My name is Dan Gagno, and I will be walking you through this presentation. We begin our presentation with demographic data for Cherokee High School. As you can see by the graphic in front of you, Cherokee High School is a predominantly white school, with 73% of the population being white. Cherokee High School has 9% African American population, 1% Asian, 14% Hispanic, and 3% identifying themselves as mixed race. This is very similar to the overall Cherokee County School District, which is 75% white, 7% African American, 2% Asian, 13% Hispanic, and again 3% mixed. Contrast this with the state numbers of 44% white, 37% African American, 3% Asian, 12% Hispanic, and 3% mixed. You can see that Cherokee County and Cherokee High School are not exactly the same as the overall state demographic makeup. However, Cherokee High School, Cherokee County, and the state of Georgia have seen a shift in the population in the last 3 years. Cherokee High School has seen a drop in its white population by 3% and an increase in its population of Asian and Hispanics by 1 and 2% respectively. This is very similar to the district, which saw a 2% drop in its white population and a 2% increase in its Hispanic population, whereas the state saw a 2% drop in its white population and a 2% rise in its Hispanic population. The state also saw a 1% drop in its African American population. Cherokee High School has seen an increase in its percentage of students qualifying for free and reduced lunch. In 2009, that population was 30.2%. And by 2011, it had increased to 35.9%, seeing a 5.7% increase in the students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. At the same time, the student-to-teacher ratio of Cherokee High School has increased. In 2009, it was 14.6 students per teacher, and by 2011, it has reached 16.3 students per teacher. The teacher demographics, although similar in that it's predominantly white, the overall percentage of white teachers is drastically higher than the student population. Whereas the student population is in the mid-70s, so 75, 76, the percentage of teachers who are white is 95%. And this does not match with the student population. Now, moving on to some testing data. We'll start with the Georgia High School graduation test data. Starting with the English Language Arts test portion of the high school graduation test, you can see that the school in 2008 had a 93.6% meet the standards. And by 2011, that had increased to 95%. This is very similar to the district, where in 2008 the district was at 96.2 and by 2011 was at 96. The state started in 2008 with 90% and by 2011 was at 91%. So Cherokee High School has increased the percentage of students while the district and the state have basically maintained. Looking at the science portion of the high school graduation test, the school has pretty much stayed the same over the last couple of years. In 2008, the school was at 97%, meeting the standards, and in 2011, it's at 98%. The district, however, has increased over that same time period. In 2008, the district was at 95.5%, and by 2011, it increased to 97%. The state of Georgia has seen a marked increase over the same time period from 86% to 93%. However, the school and the district are still well above the state in regards to this portion of the high school graduation test. For math, 2011 was the first year where they looked at the Georgia performance standards on the Georgia high school graduation test, and the school is at 89%, Cherokee County School District is at 94%, and the state is at 84%. So the school, Cherokee High School, is 5 points below the district, but 5 points above the state. For the social studies GPS, we have 2 years worth of data. And in 2010, Cherokee High School had 92.5% meet the standard, and in 2011, 93%. So not much growth there. The district, the same thing, 92.7 in 2010 and 93 in 2011. The state, however, increased 2 points from 78 to 80. But as with much of the other data we've looked at so far, the school and the district were well above the state in these areas. Looking at EOCT scores as well. EOCT for Algebra 1, Cherokee High School increased from 2006 at 78% up to 2007, 87%, and then continued to drop back down to 76.7%. So from 2006 to 2013, there's actually been a drop of 1%. Whereas the district has dropped markedly between 2006 and 2013, and the state even more so, from 64% to 30%. For geometry, the geometry test stopped in 2009, so we're going to look at some data here just to get a feel for where the school was in case these tests ever come back. So the school was at 86% in 2006 and 84% in 2009. The district was at 90% in 2006 and then dropped to 86.9. The state dropped even more from 62 in 2006 to 47 in 2009. In the social studies EOCTs, for U.S. history, Cherokee High School in 2010 was 83.4, and by 2013 had dropped 2 percentage points to 81.4. Cherokee County, however, saw an increase over that same time period, from 83.3% in 2010 to 86.7% in 2013. The state saw the greatest increase during this time period, from 62% in 2010 to 72.6% in 2013. So while the school and the district were seeing small shrinkages or small gains in the case of the Cherokee High School and the county, the state saw a marked 10.6% increase in the U.S. history test. On the economics EOCT, Cherokee High School started in 2010 with an 88.2% meeting the standard, and by 2013 was at 95.2. Cherokee County, similarly in 2010 was at 88.7%, and by 2013 had reached 93.9%. The state in 2010 was at 70.3, and by 2013 had reached 78.9. So both Cherokee High School and Cherokee County schools are well above the state average on the economics exam. The EOCT in science. For biology in 2010, Cherokee High School was 70.2, and by 2013 had seen an increase of 11 percentage points to 81.1. The district started in 2010 at 80.6 and saw a 9% gain by 2013. The state, over the same time period, 2010 was 66% and reached 74% in 2013. So here again, Cherokee High School and Cherokee County are well above the state average, but Cherokee High School is lacking when compared to the rest of the district by about 8 percentage points in 2013. In physical science, in 2010, Cherokee High School was at 78%, and by 2013 had dropped almost 5 percentage points to 73.7. Over this same time period, Cherokee County schools saw an increase from 88.6% in 2010 to 92.5% in 2013. Still, both Cherokee High School and Cherokee County are outperforming the state on this EOCT. But Cherokee High School is sorely lacking when compared to the rest of the district on this particular test, with a difference of almost 20 full points between the district and Cherokee High School. In English, for 9th grade lit, in 2010, Cherokee High School was at 82.3, and by 2013 had seen an increase to 90%, meeting the standard. Over the same time, the district increased from 89.4 in 2010 to 94.2 in 2013, with the state seeing an increase from 79.4 to 85.7 over those same time periods. Again, Cherokee High School and Cherokee County are outperforming the state, but Cherokee High School is again behind the average for the rest of the district. In American Lit, Cherokee High School is almost right on par with the district and is well above the state for their meet percentages. In 2010, Cherokee High School is at 93.1, and by 2013 has increased to 95%. The district, over that same time period, increased from 94.5 to 97.1, with the state seeing an increase of 4% over that same time period, from 86.1 to 90. So, where do we need to improve at Cherokee High School? Well, digging further into the data, we see that when it comes to our EOCT scores, there is a dramatic difference between our economically disadvantaged students and our not economically disadvantaged students. Looking at this graph, you can see the red line is your not economically disadvantaged students. And in economics, only 3% of those students taking the test did not meet. In U.S. history, 12% did not meet. In physical science, 16% did not meet. In biology, 11%. Math 2, 13% did not meet. Math 1, 14% did not meet. American Lit, only 3% did not meet. And 9th Lit, 7% did not meet. Comparing that to our economically disadvantaged students, there is a drastic difference between the scores. In 9th grade Lit, the economically disadvantaged students did not meet the standard. 26% of these students did not meet the standard. In American Lit, that number is 11%. Math 1, it's 26%. Math 2, it's 30%. Biology was 28%. Physical science is 35%. U.S. history, there's a difference with the economically disadvantaged not meeting 29%. And in economics, it's 14%. So in terms of our EOCT scores, we need to look at ways to close the gap between our not economically disadvantaged students and our students who qualify as economically disadvantaged. For 9th grade Lit, we're looking at a difference of 19%. In Math 1, it's 12%. In Math 2, it's 17%. In Biology, it's 17%. U.S. History, 17%. Economics, 11%. However, there is some good news as well regarding our not economically disadvantaged and economically disadvantaged students. And that is on the high school graduation test. If you look at the difference between our not economically disadvantaged students and our economically disadvantaged students who did not meet the standards, in English and language arts, there's only a 3% difference. In math, the not economically disadvantaged had an 8% not meet rate, whereas the economically disadvantaged had a 13% not meet. In social studies, those numbers are 7% for not economically disadvantaged and 12% for economically disadvantaged. And finally, in science, there's only a 2% difference, with 3% not meeting from the not economically disadvantaged group and 5% not meeting from the economically disadvantaged group. So in this regard, we're doing a good job of closing the gap between the economically disadvantaged and the not economically disadvantaged. However, we're not seeing the same results in our EOCTs. And that's where we need to start looking, is how we're going to address the gap between our not economically disadvantaged students and our economically disadvantaged students when it comes to the EOCTs.